Hey everybody, I'm Justin with AmericanMuscle.com, and today we're taking a closer look at and installing the AFE Magnum 4 Superstock Intake Kit with the Pro Dry filter fitting your 15 and newer EcoBoost powered Mustangs. Now, you guys at home should be considering the AFE system here. If you're looking to ditch the two, I would say, most restrictive parts of the factory intake system while still maintaining the use of Ford's really well-designed factory airbox and all of the factory cold air ducting that tends to go along with that. So the truth of the matter here, guys, is that the factory airbox design in general has come a very long way over the last decade or two, and the factory is just getting much better at designing efficient and free-flowing setups that in this case tap into some fresh air ducting on the front end of the car, and honestly it's going to do the job pretty darn well. However, there is always room for improvement, and that's exactly what we're talking about here today. Now, this kit from AFE is going to improve on that factory airbox design, doing so by eliminating, or in this case replacing, two of the most restrictive parts of the factory intake setup, the factory inlet tube and that cheap paper element factory filter. Now, in this case, guys, AFE is going to replace these parts with a computer designed Dyno-Tune roto-molded plastic intake tube, along with their signature dry filter. This is the Pro Dry S. It's a high flow option, relatively maintenance free here, that when paired together is going to increase your airflow by roughly 16% over stock. And that's going to equate to gains of about 7 horsepower, 7 pound-feet of torque, according to the gang at AFE. I do want to point out that seems very realistic in the world of intake claims. A lot of times with different products, manufacturers just tend to throw all kinds of numbers out there. Some of them seem a little unrealistic, some of them seem more honest and realistic, and that's what we're dealing with here today. I've seen a lot of these kits, we've installed a lot of them, dynoed a lot of them, and the single high horsepower gains and torque gains are pretty much right on the money with our experience. Now, as far as your build is concerned, well, interested EcoBoost owners can look forward to, again, the roto-molded plastic intake tube here, which we just talked about. And I like this design because the plastic is going to be less prone to heat soak when compared to maybe a metal option. In addition to that, I really just like the textured black design under the hood. It's going to be very stealthy, flow very well with the rest of the factory components and that stock airbox. Now, according to AFE, guys, this tube has been computer designed to improve over that factory inlet design while still fitting in the stock location. Now, filter again is going to be the dry option from AFE here. It's not going to require any maintenance or any oil in that regard. Of course, it will require the occasional cleaning, light cleaning, but we're talking thousands and thousands of miles before doing so, depending on your driving conditions. Now, this kit does not require any tuning, guys, no custom or can tuning for that matter, but it is not CARB certified, so just keep that in mind. But it is going to be backed by a 2-year limited warranty, just in case you run into any issues. Now, moving into your pricing segment here, guys, and typically AFE components in the land of intakes will command more of a higher price point in the pricing spectrum, if you will, especially when compared to other options in the category. Now, getting into the super stock kit that we have here today, that's really not the case. Now, a lot of the more elaborate cases, AFE designed some really awesome airboxes. Those typically add to that higher price point we just talked about. But since this kit is pretty simple by nature, again, basically a tube, a filter, a couple couplers and clamps, it is going to fall more in line with other kits in the category that offer similar components. And we're referencing kits like the K&N Series 57, for instance, or even that Air Raid Junior kit. So overall, again, pretty competitively priced here amongst other kind of bare bones options in the category. All right, moving into the install here, gang. And again, this will be slightly different because yes, you are not replacing your entire intake. You're simply just replacing the intake tube itself and the filter, which in my opinion is only gonna make the job much easier. So because of that, still very easy stuff, a very straightforward install. 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter is what the site's gonna call this one. They call it an hour, and I'd say that's absolute most to complete from start to finish. Now let's throw it out to the guys in the shop for a quick walkthrough and tool breakdown. Check it out.
The tools you'll need for this project are a 1/2-inch ratchet and a 20mm socket or an adjustable wrench, a 1/4-inch drive ratchet, an extension, a swivel joint, a 7, an 8, and 11mm socket, a flathead screwdriver, and a pair of pliers. Hi everyone, today we're installing a cold air intake system on our EcoBoost Mustang, so let's get started with the uninstall of the stock system. First thing we're going to do is loosen this clamp here, connecting our box to our intake tube, and we're going to do that using a 7mm socket. Now we're going to disconnect our bypass tube here using a pair of pliers on this spring clamp. We'll just squeeze that together and then lift up on the hose and get it disconnected from our inlet tube. Next thing we're going to do is disconnect our PCV line right here. And to do that, we're going to push back on the gray tab on the back side here and just lift it up. Now we're going to loosen the clamp on our fitting that goes into our turbo, again using our 7mm socket. And you might find it easier to use an extension and a swivel joint to be able to get in there. All right, once you've got that loose, now we can work on actually removing the inlet tube from the vehicle. Now we're going to disconnect our bellows fitting right here from our air box. And you might find it easier to use a flathead screwdriver to just get underneath the edge of it here and kind of pry it out. Once you've got that done, just grab a hold of your tube and pull it away from your turbo. Now that we're ready to start getting ready for our install, we need to install our PCV fitting here into our new inlet tube. Now normally, in this instance, I would also recommend it to use something like a Teflon tape to go ahead and make sure that when you install this, it seals up. But because we're not making this a permanent change to our vehicle, we're not going to put the sealant on here right now. So you're just going to screw this in to this brass fitting right here on the inlet tube. And then once you get it finger tight, you can either use an adjustable wrench, or in our case, we're going to use a 20mm socket to fit over the top, and just make sure that it's nice and tight. Now you don't need to over tighten this, you just need to make sure that it's tight. Now let's go ahead and get this ready to install. All right, now we're going to use one of our large T-bolt clamps and our bellows fitting here. We're going to slide that over the end of it and then slide it onto the inlet tube. And you want to make sure when you put this clamp on here that it's in a location where you're going to be able to access it. And once you've got it onto the actual inlet tube, then we'll go ahead and tighten it down. We'll snug it up using an 11mm socket. All right, and once you've got it snug, then we'll go ahead and put our other coupling on the other end. And for this, we're going to use the smaller of the T-bolt clamps. Once you've got that fully seated, then again, we're going to use our 11mm socket and go ahead and snug that up. Now we'll put our other large T-bolt clamp on the end of the bellows here, and our regular hose clamp on the small end, again making sure that it's in a position that's going to be easily accessible. And then we'll go ahead and feed this down through and connect our inlet tube to our air box. And we'll snug that up with our 11mm socket. Now we'll go ahead and attach the other end to our turbo. Now with all the tubes and hoses and everything else that's over here, it's a little difficult to get the camera in here to be able to see it, but you know where the turbo is at. So we're just gonna reach down in here and get this other end of the inlet tube with our coupling. Slide that over the end of the turbo. And then we'll go ahead and tighten down that clamp using our 8mm socket. All right, now that we've got all of our clamps snugged up, double check your clearances, make sure everything is good, and then go through one more time and finish tightening everything down for good. Now with our clamps all tightened down, we go ahead and reconnect our PCV hose. And you're just gonna push that down until it snaps into place. Give it a little tug to make sure that it's on there securely. And then we'll reconnect our bypass hose using our pliers. Squeeze that clamp. Feed the hose down, make sure it's seated. And then release the clamp. And our final step on the install is to replace our air filter. We're just gonna unhook these clips on the airbox lid, slide it forward a little bit and lift it up. Once you do that, go ahead and remove your stock air filter, replace it with the one that comes in the kit, and then go ahead and reinstall your lid. Once you got your new filter in, replace the lid. Make sure the snaps are secured, and you're ready to go. And that wraps up our review and install of the AFE Magnum Force Super Stock Cold Air Intake with Pro Dry S filter in black for your 15 and newer Mustang EcoBoost. Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.